All right. Hello, and welcome to this event on oppression and how to fight for liberation from a Marxist class struggle perspective. My name is Simone, and I'm a member of the Madison branch of the International Marxist Tendency, a revolutionary organization of workers and youth fighting for the socialist transformation of society. We're active in branches across the US and in over 40 countries worldwide. You can learn more about the IMT and how to get involved at the website of our national section, socialistrevolution.org, or at Marxist.com, our international site. Both regularly publish articles and other resources on current events, history, and theory from a Marxist perspective. For local news and events, or to meet and talk with comrades here in Madison, please just reach out to us. You can find us online at imtmadison.org and join our email list to receive updates. We also invite you to subscribe to our paper, Socialist Revolution, which features news and analysis on events as they unfold here in the US and around the world. And you can do that by contacting our branch directly or by visiting any of our websites. Finally, this work is entirely funded by our members and supporters. If you want to support us in building the forces of Marxism, you can donate via Venmo to IV Gertz. That name should be appearing on the screen below. Tonight's event will be in two parts. First, our speaker, Jay, will provide a short introduction to the topic during the live broadcast, which is streaming now on Facebook and YouTube. And afterwards, we invite you to join us on Zoom for the discussion. And that Zoom link will be posted in the comments at the end of the stream. And during the stream, you can also ask Jay questions in the comment section for discussion later on. So here tonight to talk about the fight against oppression in all its forms, its origins in class society, and how to approach the question of liberation from a revolutionary socialist perspective is our comrade Jay. Jay has been a member of the Madison IMT for about 9 months now, and recently also gave a talk on the subject of xenophobia and imperialism, which I encourage you to check out. You can find videos of all our past live streams on our Facebook page. So thanks for tuning in. We're glad you're here with us, and we hope to see you later on Zoom. And with that, I will turn it over to Jay.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Simone, for that introduction, and thank you for everyone who is watching this event and taking your time out of your day to take part in this event. As you know, I'll be providing a brief lead off on today's topic of Marxism and oppression. And hopefully this lead off can answer some questions that viewers will have about the role that Marxism plays against the fight against oppression. And hopefully this lead off can then help us, go towards the Zoom discussion and continue the conversation because this is such an important topic. Oppression is such a wide and complex topic. It's difficult to compress it within a short period of 15 minutes. But I think what we can do is the Zoom discussion can be a great space for us to continue this conversation and build on each other and answer some questions. First thing I want to talk about is the importance of this topic. As a Marxist organization, oppression is a central part of why we fight against capitalism, right? And I think there's a lot of misconceptions about Marxism and oppression, and some people might say that Marxism we focus too much on class, but I think the most important thing that we can say is that for us, the fight against capitalism is the fight against oppression. We don't see it as two separate things, right? So when we say we fight against capitalism, we are fighting against the oppression of women all over the world, the oppression against indigenous people, against women of color. So for us, we believe that by collectively working and bringing together a working class and to have a socialist revolution, to seize the means of production, that is truly how we are going to change society. And that's truly how we are going to end oppression. And I think we see the world today in terms of COVID. It's so clear that the oppressed groups, for example, women of color, Black Americans, for example, who make up such a sizable portion of the working class, right? These are the most oppressed and exploited factions of the working class. And COVID has truly shown, I think, the way that capitalism is a decaying system, in the way that it is continuing to push us backwards, right? It's no longer a progressive system. And I was recently reading an article in New York Times about which groups are the most have lost the most jobs. prior to after COVID happening, and it's Hispanic women and Black women who have lost the most jobs in America and after the COVID virus. So I think it's very clear that capitalism, in the way that it enforces itself on oppressed people, is more clear today than ever before due to COVID, not just in the United States, but across the world. But also at the same time, there's an enormous amount of resistance happening all over the world. A lot of protests happening. We saw the killing of George Floyd, which created the largest protests we've ever seen in the history of this country. And you're seeing protests against anti-abortion laws in Latin America, right? Women are going to the streets and protesting in massive numbers. We're seeing protests in Ireland and Argentina. So as capitalism continues to oppress and continues to exploit, people are going to become radicalized. People are going to go to the streets, and it's the oppressed groups, the oppressed people who are going to, among the working class, who are going to have the most energy, have the most revolutionary energy. And as Marxists, we have to, as those of us who are part of the working class and part of Marxist organizations, the fight against oppression is going to be incredibly important for us to achieve the goal of a socialist revolution. And one of the things that Marxism can help us understand is the roots of oppression, and we don't see the fight against capitalism. The reason why we want to, or the goal towards ending oppression, is because we look at history, we look at different aspects of our relations to productions throughout history, and Marxism, through the method of historical materialism, can help us understand the roots of oppression. And if we give specific examples, for example, the oppression of women, right? We see that what truly began the oppression of women was the development of private property. As society began to create surplus, right? We began to create more than what we consumed. Men began to accumulate that surplus. They began to take it in, and so longer they did not have to work, and they began to accumulate private property. And as Engels has written in one of his works, he shows that the development of the monogamous family, right, monogamy family was due to the accumulation of private property, which in essence enslaved the woman towards the family. And the reason why we look at history and we look at these kinds of developments of production is because it gives us a sense of the roots of oppression, right? Why did oppression emerge? Why did racism emerge? Why did misogyny emerge? And we begin to see that through historical materialism, that it was the certain material conditions, right, were taking place and developing that gave the rise of racism, of the oppression of women. And what this will do is help us guide us as revolutionaries, as those who want to fight oppression. It'll help us guide us in how to move forward, right? So for us, the fight against capitalism is to end oppression against women, against people of color all over the world, against religious minorities. Because we know throughout history, right, the development of means of production, development of specific material conditions gave these oppressions, gave them to rise and gave them to spread across the world. And I think that as Marxists, it's an incredible thing to be able to look back in history and see the roots of oppression. And this is why we make it very clear that the only way that we can end oppression, the only way that we can truly change society is by seizing the means of production and to start to use our surplus and our wealth for the betterment of society as all. And so we know that as of today, the system of capitalism is a system where a minority exploit the majority in order to accumulate profit. And the racism and sexism, all of these play a direct role in terms of guiding that system, and in terms of allowing the bourgeoisie, the capitalists, to continue to accumulate wealth and to continue to divide workers and to exploit certain oppressed minorities, oppressed groups, to further enrich themselves and to accumulate vast amounts of wealth. And while at the same time, the oppressed minorities and workers around the world continue to suffer. And I think Marxism is central on our fight against that, and for us to be part of that working class to work together for the betterment of society and for the end of oppression. But at the same time that we are speaking about oppression, there's at the same time as capitalism is developing and is radicalizing many people, we are starting to see different ways that people are viewing oppression, right? The different ways people are perceiving themselves, and you're starting to see the emergence of feminist movements around the world. In America, you're starting to see the development of identity politics and intersectionality, and these have become, very popular among young people, among those who work within oppressed working class, oppressed minorities. And as Marx says, we make it very clear, right, that we're not against the goal of what people within identity politics and intersectionality and especially feminists want, right? We want to end oppression, and we want to make it very clear that we are at the same time the goal of what intersectionalities and identity politics are trying to achieve, which is the end of oppression. But in the end, identity politics does not center the class struggle, right? It does not center the fight against the people who truly, control society, who can truly control the wealth of society, which is the bourgeoisie, because we believe that the main antagonism, the main division within the world is between the workers and those who own the means of production. And although we are in agreement, right, in terms of that we want to end oppression, and in terms of what intersectionalists and identity politics is and goal is, what we want to make clear is that we believe that how do we approach the fight against oppression will require an enormous amount of organization among the working class, but will also require a fight against capitalism. Only through the fact that we can seize the means of production, and only through the revolutionary power of the working class can we truly change society. And the reason why we believe this is because the working class has a specific relation to the production of society. It is a social class that without society wouldn't function, right? The working class has an enormous amount of power. It has an enormous amount of revolutionary capabilities, and by all oppressed working class people throughout the world can come together. We can use the power that capitalism has socialized, right? We can use it to truly change society. So I think that what we want to make clear is that there's going to be different factions within the oppressed minorities, right? Who might think of their oppressed identities in different ways, but the fight against oppression can only be achieved once we're able to organize the working class truly in not just the United States, but on a global scale. So and I definitely we can definitely understand why certain people in the oppressed groups will identify, right, with their identity, right, to deal with constant racism, for women to deal with constant discrimination. It's certainly understandable why someone would see their identity as a central aspect of their life, right, as a central fight against oppression. And we are definitely in understanding that is the same goal that we have in mind, right, in terms of ending oppression, and the same in terms of organization. What we want is to think of it in a class-centric way as Marxists, because of the historical developments, because of the root creation of oppression. The only way that we can truly change society and change or end oppression is through the working of the working class, is through the power of the working class. And so that can be achieved in many ways. We have to reach out to the oppressed organizations, oppressed people, and to be able to truly communicate with them, and to truly be able to organize on a class basis is how we are going to end the goal, end oppression at a global scale. And we were definitely developing these organizations. We're developing the revolutionary capabilities, but we would certainly accept and propose transitional demands, right? We would certainly say that we want equal pay among men and women. We want healthcare for all. We want to see free childcare accessible to everyone. We want to see the ending of the policing of Black communities, and we want full employment for all workers throughout the United States. You know, these demands is something that we can ask for right now. We can fight for right now, and more importantly, we would ask for a working class party. You know, a working class party run by those of us who are in the working class, led by the working class, and by a working class party in America, we can begin to truly organize the working class, truly be able to realize our potential. And this party would focus on the oppressed, the factions of the oppressed who are in the working class, and empower us towards the development of that. And you know, these are transitional demands that we can think of doing right now that would help to progress the oppressed minorities and those within the working class. Any kind of demand that even improves the lives of working people just a little bit is something that we fight for and we support wholeheartedly. And so I think in conclusion, you know, developing our understanding of oppression, seeing that capitalism is radicalizing many people throughout the world among the oppressed minorities, we have to be able to, as Marxists, as those of us who are within the working class, as a collective, to organize within the working class to fight against capitalism, to create a global revolution where people in oppressed minorities, oppressed groups across the world begin to realize that the only way that we can truly end oppression is by having a collective fight against capitalism, to seize the means of production, to finally truly become equal human beings. We have to change our relation to production, right? We have to change the way that society functions, and we cannot allow the bourgeoisie, we cannot allow the capitalists to continue to seize the means of production, to continue to exploit the masses, and to divide the workers. And so I hope, in conclusion, that my leadoff answered some questions. I know this is a very broad topic, and I hope that those of you who are watching will join us in the Zoom discussion, and we're more than happy to answer any questions to further the discussion of oppression, the fight against oppression. And I want to thank everyone who's watching right now, and please do join us in the Zoom discussion. We look forward to the talk. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Jay, for that introduction to this important topic. And thanks also to Kyle, our camera behind the scenes producing the live stream. So yeah, we hope that you join us now on Zoom for the discussion. The link will appear in the comments soon if it hasn't already been posted. And just a heads up that our next event is on Tuesday, March 23rd at 6 p.m. on the topic of automation, its impact on the working class today, and how a socialist society would harmonize labor and technology and put it in service of the people. We have plenty more live streams coming up this spring. So again, you can find us online at imtmadison.org and sign up to receive email updates on upcoming events and more. So thanks again for tuning in. Look for that link in the comments, and we hope to see you soon.